Hello, it's me, Facts 5. I'm providing you with the facts, just the facts, nothing but the facts, so help me God. And since my channel name is Facts 5, that means anything I say must be a fact and not an opinion. Yep, that is absolutely how it works. Yep. Well, anyway, this week is an article I found that I honestly thought was kind of funny. You probably could tell what it is already by looking at the title. I'm working on some big FF projects and also dealing with some IRL stuff. Hopefully gonna be a math teacher soon. Fingers crossed I can get that worked out. I like math. Numbers are fun. I mean, you gotta get the hang of them, but once you get the hang of them, they can be pretty fun. Anyway, let's get into this bad boy. Get woke, go broke has become a rallying cry of the political right whenever they see a brand make the slightest effort to align itself with liberal or progressive values. It's a meme that allows MAGA country to believe that there is ongoing massive backlash to products that acknowledge and celebrate marginalized communities. But the supposed boycotts never seem to be reflected in the bottom line. Besides, by the time we would expect to notice any effect, conservatives have already moved on to the next outrage. Kid Rock and Travis Tritt declared war this week against brewer Anheuser-Busch for a Bud Light partnership with trans actor Dylan Mulvaney. Yet the focus has already shifted to the whiskey Jack Daniels because of its ad campaign featuring drag queens, which happens to be from 2021. On screen is a tweet from Tim Young. WTF, Jack Daniels 2? Do brands just not understand what their target audience is? Then there's a picture of the Jack Daniels teams up with RuPaul Drag Race alums in Small Town Big Pride campaign. With all the companies these grievance peddlers are busy trying to destroy, it's none too surprising that some have slipped through the cracks. Though the US economy is facing headwinds and earnings may be down across the board for the first fiscal quarter of 2023, here's ample evidence that major brands tend to easily weather anti-woke furor. Here's an accounting of several right-wingers vowed to ruin and how they're faring in the aftermath. Number 1. Keurig. In many ways, the Keurig kerfuffle of 2017 was the blueprint for Get Woke, Go Broke phenomenon. The slogan had yet to be coined, but the sentiment was certainly there. If you'll recall, a Republican candidate named Roy Moore was running to represent Alabama in the Senate when multiple women accused him of sexual misconduct. Fox News host Sean Kennedy cast doubt on the allegations, warning viewers not to quote-unquote rush to judgment against Moore, which caused Keurig to pull ads for their coffee makers from his show. This was right as the hashtag #MeToo movement was taking off. In response, Hannity's fans called for a boycott and started smashing their Keurigs for social media. In a since-deleted tweet, Hannity shared one video commenting, "Love it." So how is Keurig doing now? The parent company, Keurig Green Mountain, acquired Dr. Pepper Snapple Group in an $18.7 billion deal in 2018, forming Keurig Dr. Pepper Incorporated, the third largest beverage company in North America. This behemoth's annual gross profits have swelled ever since, reaching $7.3 billion in 2022, a nearly 5% increase from the previous year. Turns out a handful of Hannity viewers throwing a tantrum did not make a dent. Nothing quite like good old-fashioned corporate consolidation, eh? Eh? Oh boy. Number 2, United Airlines. Always hostile to corporate initiatives that have a whiff of affirmative action, conservatives were predictably incensed to learn that in 2021, United Airlines planned for half of its incoming pilot trainees to be women and/or people of color. Piers Morgan sneered that they'd try to recruit blind pilots next, to tick another pathetic virtue-signaling box. Tucker Carlson whined that United execs were ideologues suffering from an incurable brain disease called wokeness, arguing that they no longer prioritized pilot ability or passenger safety. On screen is a tweet from Bridget Gabriel saying, "United Airlines is done. If you go woke, it's time to go broke." Dated April 7th, 2021. Cut to the beginning of 2023, and United was reporting fourth quarter 2022 profit of $843 million, beating Wall Street's expectations. It also gave an optimistic forecast for the months ahead, seeing a high demand for flights. Number 3, Carhartt. A 134-year-old workwear company headquartered in the American Midwest is an odd target for right-wing resentment. Indeed, Carhartt's heavy-duty apparel is practically synonymous with the manual labor that Republicans and Democrats alike tend to describe as the bedrock of national greatness. How could they possibly go woke? By maintaining a COVID-19 vaccination requirements for employees after the Supreme Court blocked the Biden administration's federal vaccine mandate for larger businesses at the beginning of 2022. There is a tweet on screen from Sebastian Gorka. I could try doing an impression of his voice, I guess. Never ever buy Carhartt products again. Pretend I didn't read that in his voice. Sure enough, hashtag boycott Carhartt started trending nationally, although the impact of suit-wearing beltway characters like Sebastian Gorka swearing off the blue-collar clothes was never going to be significant. As it's a private company, we can't say what Carhartt's 2022 profits were, but in December it announced an investment of $4.65 million to expand its Dearborn, Michigan campus and plans to hire 125 workers at an average wage of $43.22 an hour. Doesn't exactly sound broke, does it? As for the woke part, they've only doubled down, hinting at possible future projects that involve a woman's brand and diversity, equity, and inclusion program expansion. Next up, Disney. The entertainment giant has come under fire time and again for supposed wokeness. They've been canceled for redesigning the theme park ride Splash Mountain to make it less racist, adding LGBTQ characters to their family films, and casting a black woman, Halle Bailey, as the lead in their live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. Perhaps its biggest blow-up, however, came when Disney opposed Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay law, signed by Governor Ron DeSantis last year, leading reactionaries to baselessly accuse the company of so-called grooming children. The indignation even led to anti-Disney rallies. There's a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're not worth it. She's never really worth it. However much Disney lost in sales as a result, it was less than a drop in the bucket. Their gross profit for 2022 was $28.321 billion, a 27% increase from 2021, and they generally outpaced media competitors. While fourth quarter earnings fell somewhat short of estimates, analysts chalk this up to streaming costs associated with Disney Plus, which by the way now has more subscribers than Netflix. Meanwhile, revenue from the theme parks, the easiest part of the business to boycott, surged. What tumult there has been at Disney in the past few months, management shakeups that resulted in the return of CEO Bob Iger, canceled Star Wars movies, and ongoing layoffs are more about strategic vision than any strain from the so-called groomer attacks. You gotta love it. You make billions and billions of dollars in profit, and how does the company repay you? By laying you off. Well, I guess the individual didn't personally make those billions of dollars in profit, but it's still the general theme. I remember there was this Tim Pool video where Tim just saw the headline. It was just the headline where it said that, Disney's laying tons of people off, and he just went on this rant about how it's proof of getting woke means going broke, and then he actually read the article, and when he saw the, he saw the actual numbers, he was like, oh, that's a lot of money. God. People actually like that guy. He's a vibe king, let me tell you. Just goes on vibes. Nike. Much like Disney, Nike has courted the ire of Red America in various ways. Conservatives never bring up the allegation that the largest athletic apparel and footwear brand in the world has relied on forced labor in its supply chain. Nike last year reaffirmed a commitment to a fundamental respect for human rights, noting that they focus on working with long-term strategic suppliers that demonstrate a commitment to engaging their workers, providing safe working conditions, and advancing environmental responsibility. I'm gonna be real with you, I don't believe it. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. Of course, when it comes to these cons, they only really care about the coat of paint that the tyrannical corporation coats itself with. It's always about the window dressing. However, anti-woke activists do take grave issue with some of Nike's spokespeople. A few years ago, it was Colin Kaepernick who protested racial injustice by kneeling for the national anthem at NFL games. You know, Kaepernick is referenced again, as is the NFL a bit later in the article, but I really just have to take this time to comment on just how effing hilarious the reaction to Kaepernick was. I mean, you had the literal president of the United States just throwing a hissy fit on Twitter. And he was like, no, you got it. Well, not just him, but like, oh God, what was I gonna say? Yeah, like, so many, there's conservatives up to and including the president of the United States who are like, no, you gotta do the magic state ritual. Why aren't you doing the state ritual? Seriously, this guy's like, they care more about the flag than the people who live under it. But this week they were horrified to learn that Dylan Mulvaney, after tarnishing Bud Light, is now promoting Nike sports bras and leggings on Instagram. Yeah, there's a tweet from that conservative influencer named End Wokeness. I don't know why people take him seriously, but enough people do. If the haters want to take Nike down for seeking the endorsement of a trans woman, they'll have to try harder than they did in 2018 when the Kaepernick collaboration had them burning shoes and ruining socks by cutting the swoosh logo off of them. The campaign was a smash hit, delivering a spike in sales, and Nike has continued to top expectations for revenue growth, with a 2022 fourth quarter net income reaching $1.44 billion. Amazon. Even before the online retailer and streamer took heat for a diverse cast in its epic fantasy series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, some had decided that Jeff Bezos' trillion-dollar juggernaut had an unacceptable political bias. In 2021, Media Research Center, a conservative watchdog group, launched an anti-Amazon campaign titled Stop Amazon Hate, alleging that the company censors right-wing and Christian views, removing or suppressing certain books. Amazon Web Services had also just suspended the pro-Trump social network Parler in the wake of the January 6 Capitol riots, leading its CEO to call for a boycott. Like others in the tech sector, Amazon has recently laid off thousands of workers. The industry-wide trend may be the result of increased automation, a slowing global economy, and corporate overexpansion in the past couple of years. Even so, Amazon is still beating Wall Street income forecasts, $149.2 billion in the fourth quarter of 2022, and breaking records on ad revenue. It remains the fifth largest company in the world by market capitalization. Safe to say it's not going bankrupt anytime soon. Kellogg's. In 2021, multinational food manufacturer Kellogg's Corporation sparked a fury by releasing a limited edition Together with Pride cereal in partnership with the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, or GLAAD, which would receive $3 per box sold. The box contained rainbow berry hearts coated in edible glitter and bore affirming messages about preferred pronouns. The Christian fundamentalist and anti-LGBTQ American Family Association accused Kellogg's of an effort to push homosexuality to children and demanded a boycott. Like, why is it only ever political to be gay or whatever? Like, it's just normal to be straight, but if you're LGBT or anything that's not straight, then suddenly it's unnatural and being forced onto others. Well, I guess I can easily figure out why. I mean, there's something about sexuality, perceived or otherwise, just does something to people's brains. Really fizzles them out. Sad, also kind of funny, but also sad because it really does hurt a lot of people. Amusingly, the AFA's worthless petition came 5 years after another attempt to bring Kellogg's to heel. In 2016, the brand pulled their ads from the far-right news site Breitbart, noting that the media network was not aligned with their values. Breitbart published a screed in response, saying this marked an escalation in the war by leftist companies against conservative customers. And telling readers to #dump Kellogg's. Anyone who has been to a grocery store lately will know that both of these mobilizations failed. Kellogg Corporation is still outperforming market predictions even with inflation raising prices. Net sales climbed 12% to $3.83 billion in the fourth quarter of 2022. The NFL. Indisputably the final boss among unkillable corporate titans, the National Football League has endured no end of tantrums from viewers who believed it has scorned American traditions. During the 2017 season, some on the left considering a break from football until the league rectified its treatment of Colin Kaepernick, but far more noise came from the right after Donald Trump condemned the organization for not cracking down on players who kneeled during the national anthem. He suggested fans leave stadiums if they saw this at a game or boycott the sport entirely, and a year later claimed that viewership was plummeting. There's a tweet from Trump up there. I'm not really gonna bother reading it. Since then, the NFL has only grown more accepting of such peaceful protests and made social justice one of its charitable causes, drawing continued complaints and warnings about driving fans away. There was another round of griping this February when, for the first time, the Super Bowl's pre-game ceremonies included an on-field performance of Lift Every Voice and Sing, commonly referred to as the Black National Anthem. Yet the league is unbelievably prosperous these days, with locked-in media deals worth tens of billions, individual teams increasing in value, record viewership across broadcast and streaming, and soaring in-person attendance. The threats from conservatives have had no measurable effect whatsoever. It's almost like being woke to the degree that the right can't even define such equality. Won't sink your business, but hey, I'm no accountant. And here we have it. All bark and no bite. Somewhat ironically, a lot of the corporate power we have today is due to successful right-wing organizing that dates back, well, longer than I've been alive. I mean, I don't know exactly when it started per se. I guess you could argue it, you could argue it started, as a response to LBJ and Watergate, or a response to the New Deal, or even a response to growing unionization efforts. I'm gonna say that if you want to start at the absolute beginning, you could say, or at least regarding American history, you could say it started around the growth of the Industrial Revolution in America, which was especially accelerated after, or during, or by the Civil War, and then afterwards. But for the sake of modern stuff, I'm gonna say it really started kicking off, post-Watergate-ish in the 70s or so. I remember Rick Perlstein referred to these historical and still modern figures as the boardroom Jacobins, and honestly, I like that term, boardroom Jacobins. The right-wing boardroom Jacobins give us the corporate hellscape we live in today, and the modern American conservatives are angry at the paint color. They see these top-down autocratic systems and demand that they be decorated with old glory, but instead get the rainbow flag, and that seems to be what bugs them. Ay vey. Thank you for listening. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, give me money. Or don't. I'm not your boss. I'm just Facts 5'em. And right now, I'm signing off.